In Pokemon, there are a number of Pokemon that do not have official names or names that are not explicitly stated. Take this one, for example. Whether it is a Beedrill or an Ariados is a mystery. This time, I collected 13 such mysterious Pokemon. Let's take a look at them now. First, let's look at this guy. Does it look like a simple giant Gengar? It looks like a Gigantamax, but if you look closely, you can see a strange pattern on it. This is the giant Gengar that appeared in the 74th episode of the first generation anime. It is said to be a super ancient Pokemon that lived in the ancient Pokemonian civilization but was sealed away. Incidentally, giant versions of Alakazam and Jigglypuff have also been confirmed. Besides its huge size, the other thing that is interesting is its pattern. This pattern is probably unique to this civilization's Pokemon. The term Super Ancient Pokemon basically refers to the 3 legends of the Ruby Sapphire version, but in fact, there was also one like this. Its gigantic size is characteristic, and if you compare it with Onix, you will be astonished at its size. It is far larger than Groudon and Kyogre, and it retains the same size without Gigantamax. Isn't it a mystery that it is this size in its bare state, not temporarily? In the anime, they managed to escape by locking the Pokemon inside an ancient encasement, but this raises new questions about the nature of this encasement as well. In the long ago days before Monster Balls were created, Pokemon may have been captured using this kind of object. It may be even older than the retro ball used by Sam, the boy from the past, in the Celebi movie. The prototype of the Monster Ball existed several hundred years ago, so if so, it must go back by 1,000 years. Although it has not appeared in any subsequent films, it was a mysterious Pokemon that tickled our consideration. Next up, this guy. Another huge one. It looks like a Dragonite. In the past, many Pokemon had a bug in their size. One of them is this Dragonite, which appeared in the 13th episode of the first generation anime. It is said that it comes close to a certain lighthouse every year, and its description is also quite eerie. It seems to have a calm personality, as it is not shown to be damaged when attacked and does not fight back, but at any rate, its size is out of the standard. The normal size, by the way, is about this. It no longer looks cute. Pokédex says it is 2.2 meters, so the size I just mentioned is quite unusual. Also, the reason for this size has not been revealed and remains a mystery. After this, Dragonite appeared many times in the animation, but none of this size was ever seen. Dragonite is famous for being used by Lance in the game, but there is actually something puzzling about it as well. The Dragonite used by Lance learns Barrier, a technique that it is not supposed to learn even if it is raised in the game. Perhaps this Dragonite was also a survivor of an ancient Pokemon. And speaking of giant Pokemon, so is this one. This is Tentacruel, which appeared in the 19th episode of the original anime, and is also incredibly large. However, this Tentacruel has a clear reason for being huge. It was caused by a chemical reaction of acid. It was also a satire because it was caused by pollution. The broadcast episode in which the giant Tentacruel appeared has since mysteriously become a taboo subject. In 2014, the first Pokemon anime was rerun within Pokemon Get TV in Japan, but the rerun of this episode was skipped for no reason. And in the US, it was treated as a non-existent broadcast episode since 2001 for some time. The reason has been speculated as it reminded me of a tsunami, it reminded me of terrorism, and so on. Since many giant Pokemon themselves have appeared, it is not thought that the reason is because they are huge. It has not been replayed until now, but it seems to be available on Amazon Prime now. Next up, this guy. Butterfree. This Butterfree also appeared in the first generation anime in episode 21 and is a female, but the female in the game looks like this. The female in the game looks like this, only with a slightly different pattern, but you can't tell unless you look closely. And here is Butterfree in a different color. You can see that it is totally different from the anime. The feet and hands are indeed pink, but not the whole body. In other words, this Butterfree is a mysterious Pokemon that is not listed in any Pokédex. Some of you who have been watching the Pokemon anime for a long time and remember this Butterfree may have been confused that the different colored Butterfree and the different gender in the game are not all pink. That should be the case. At the time this pink Butterfree appeared, there was no such thing as a different color or even a proper division between male and female. Many of you may have wished that this anime episode could have been used as a reference when the concept of different colors was implemented in the game. Well, however, some of the animated Pokemon even ignore type affinity, such as defeating a ground-type Onix with Thunderbolt, so I guess they are working with different teams. They did not turn pink in Gigantamax, and it is not expected that will be implemented in the future. Incidentally, there are many other pink Pokemon that have appeared. This is a scene from episode 90 of the first generation anime, Pink Pokemon Island. The Pokemon living on the island are all pink because they become pink when they eat the Pinkin fruit on the island, which is called Pinkin Island. Therefore, the theory that Butterfree is from Pinkin Island is strong. It is not confirmed because its color returns rather quickly after eating, but based on the information we have now, this is the most likely explanation. We hope to see the implementation of nuts that can change color in the game as well. This next one. This is the first one you saw. This Pokemon appeared in episode 140 of the series' first anime. No, not exactly a Pokemon. In this story, there are two mysterious heroes named Grygerman and Grygirl. These two and Ash's group worked together to defeat Team Rocket. In the story, there was a description of a starring in a movie, and this Pokemon appeared there. In other words, it is speculated that a fictional enemy was created in the Pokemon. Perhaps it was decided that it would not be very nice to have a human punching a Pokemon opponent, so a creature that looks like a combination of Beedrill and Ariados was prepared. And perhaps the parody source is Batman. Use Golbat, you might say, but visually it's a pretty good match and interesting. Next up, this guy. It's an incredibly beautiful Onix. How many carats do you think it is? Let us know in the comments section. This Onix, also known as Crystal Onix, appeared in episode 89 of the series' first anime. As you know, Onix evolved only to Steelix, and the different colors are not this color, so it is recognized as a mysterious Pokemon original to the anime. The reason for its crystalline form, however, remains a mystery in the anime, and it was already in a crystalline state when it emerged from the lake in the cave. What is surprising is the different type affinity of this Onix. In the game, it is said to be 4 times weaker to water-type attacks, but this Crystal Onix does no damage. In contrast, it is depicted as being quite effective against fire types, so it may be that it is changed into an Ice Rock type. The existence of this Crystal Onix has been a mystery for a long time, but in the gold and silver version of Pokédex, this foreshadowing is revealed. In the description of Steelix in Pokédex, it is stated that it is said that if an Onix lives for over 100 years, its composition changes to become diamond-like. Could this be exactly what is meant by the Crystal Onix? This Onix is thought to have become crystal-like as a result of living 100 years in a cave. We hope that this will be implemented in the game as well, as it would be an interesting Pokemon in terms of its type and evolution. This guy is next. Yes, the kid in Kangaskhan's bag. This is another mysterious Pokemon that cannot be caught in the game. Although we have confirmed its existence moving on its own since the first generation anime, it has not been recognized as a standalone Pokemon forever. Even when Kangaskhan is hatched from an egg, it is mysteriously a child in the bag from the start. It is a very difficult Pokemon to understand because it is moving as a single entity in the animation. Furthermore, in the Sun Moon series, they fight independently. Equipped with an ability called Parental Bond, they fight alongside their parents. Many people may have had a strong impression of this child in this episode. Incidentally, Kangaskhan only exists in female form. There are many other mysteries about this Pokemon, such as how it has increased its species, what kind of Pokemon the child is, and why it has a child from the moment it is born. This guy is next. It is probably a water-type Pokemon. This Pokemon appeared in episode 246 of the first anime. But actually, it is a Pokemon that appeared in Misty's imagination. In this anime episode, Misty starts fishing against the enlightened Slowpoke. However, she is unable to catch any fish at all, and eventually realizes that the key to success is to become absent-minded. In the process, this Pokemon was created between absent-mindedness and desire. For this reason, it was thought to not actually exist. Its dorsal fin is too big compared to Gyarados, and no other fish Pokemon has one like it. But with the Mega Evolution implemented in the Sun-Moon version, this mystery is solved. Yes, Mega Gyarados. Let's compare them again. Don't you think they look very similar? As for the large dorsal fin, we can say that they are a perfect match. Well, there is a 10-year gap between the two, so it must be a coincidence, but Misty created Mega Gyarados out of her own imagination. Next is this guy. At first glance, some may think, that's Rayquaza in a different color. It is true that Rayquaza's color difference is blackish. Let's compare them. Can you see the difference? Yes, it is black, but it is not a legitimate different colored Pokemon, and it is the mysterious Rayquaza. Just to let you know, it is not a drawing error. To spoil the story, this Rayquaza is among the illusions created by Masmagius. The Confuse Ray was used to confuse Ash and others, and this color is the one that merged with the Rayquaza illusion. So it is the color of Masmagius. And this Rayquaza is not very strong. The skills it uses are weak, such as Twister and Hyper Beam, and if it were a real Rayquaza, Pikachu would probably be torn apart by Dragon Ascent. Next is this guy. What the heck is this, don't you think? Is it Blastoise or Venusaur? This Pokemon appeared in episode 20 of the first anime, and is actually a phantom. In the anime, there was a rumor that the ghost of a beautiful woman who died while waiting for her lover appeared. However, its true identity is Ghastly. In order to keep the ghost of a beautiful woman from disappearing, Ghastly surprised people by showing this apparition. Ghastly says it is called Venusaur. It seems to have a high base stats. Incidentally, here is what it looks like when created on Pokemon Fusion, an unofficial website where you can combine Pokemon and Pokemon. The color is a little creepy. In fact, there are other Pokemon that have been forcibly combined like this, such as this one in the Pokemon Adventures manga. 3 legendary Pokemon from the first generation have literally been combined. Fans of the first Pokemon may find this a difficult sight to accept. Next up is a bit of a change of pace. Many of you may recognize these in games. They are statues placed at gyms and other facilities. Since they are placed in Pokemon facilities, they are probably based on Pokemon motifs, but in fact, they have been made into merchandise while remaining a mystery. This is it. Even if it is made into goods, however, the shape remains the same, and it is not clear what the motif is. And in recent anime, it has appeared in a slightly different form. Let's proceed with the explanation while suppressing the feeling of who are you. For legs and wings. At first glance, it looks like Salamence, but it is not this chunky. Or is it just that the stone statue makers of this world are so unskilled? The mystery only deepens. Next up is this guy. As you can see, he is a golden Sudowoodo. It is also a unique color in the anime, as the different colors are only greenish. This Sudowoodo is not a wild one, but a trainer's Pokemon. It is not good at water because of its type, so he experimented to overcome that, and this is what happened. Of course, the body color itself is changing, not the paint. Like Crystal Onyx earlier, the color may tend to change when trying to change the type affinity. Incidentally, the animated Sudowoodo has many interesting aspects. For example, this is just an imitation of Machamp's technique behind him, but it is a nice and funny portrayal. Next up is this guy. Do you recognize the pattern that you saw on the ancient Pokemon mentioned earlier? These are the copy Pokemon that appeared in the movie Mewtwo Strikes Back. They are artificial Pokemon created by copying their genes after being captured by the Mewtwo Ball, and they seem to have a unique pattern on their bodies. And it is noteworthy that not only the pattern but also the shape is slightly different. The Blastoise can be seen with a jagged turret shape. This shape has not appeared since the movie, but in fact, it can be seen elsewhere recently. Yes, it is in Pokemon Go. It was implemented in February 2020. Pokemon Go is a great element for fans to recreate these old Pokemon stories. Last but not least is this guy. It looks like a Lugia, but it has a much more vicious color. This one is called Dark Lugia. It appeared in Pokemon XD, Gale of Darkness, released on Nintendo GameCube. This is a surprise to those who have not yet used the GameCube, since the different colored Pokemon in the normal game do not come in this color. And Dark Pokemon is not only this Lugia, but many different Pokemon are changing. Another one is Mewtwo. Most dark Pokemon do little to change in appearance, but Mewtwo and this Lugia have a different look and are very cool. Since Shadow Ho-Oh was implemented in Pokemon Go a step earlier, Pokemon Go might be able to implement it. These are the mystery Pokemon that are not in Pokédex so far. The animation is still unique and interesting, and I enjoyed editing it. If there are any other mystery Pokemon out there, please let me know in the comments section. See you next time.